pull them in. I also noticed, I hadn't used the boat ramp in 2 years, but I walked down there, happened to pull my boat out last week, and noticed that somebody took the effort to put cleats on the walk dock out to the floating dock. They've actually repaired them with wood cleats. Did a nice job. Whoever it was, I'd like to thank them for it because they do come in handy. Any updates on the dredging out front? Thank you guys, and you're doing a phenomenal job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mueller. That's all that's signed up, but I see multiple people here. Would anyone else wish to speak? Just raise your hand. Seeing no hands, we'll move on to comments from our city manager, and I'd invite Mr. Sossaman at this time.
Thank you, Mayor. To address a couple of things that, well, I have to tell Mr. Mueller that most of the hard lifting was done to get that website corrected by the man to my immediate right, Sal Macari. I was able to get up with him, got the email early Saturday morning, and contacted several members of staff just to make sure I got to the right person at the right time to get it up and running. Found out the problem, and Sal took care of it. Let's see, you mentioned Nick Spark. Did I just cut off there? Almost weekly with the folks at Ayers Engineering. So has Sean Uhas, our Public Works Utilities Director, and hopefully I can get 2 engineers here. One will be Matt Ivy, because we need to finish a couple of reports to DEP, and also he's put the final touches on the project re-engineering Nick's boat ramp. He's done some checking for me, and I guess there is a silver lining in the COVID-19, and I know I don't think there is, but one little thing is right now a lot of contractors apparently are doing without or doing close to without in terms of projects, and he feels like that we'll get better because we did before. So I wanted to stay on top of that, sort of kind of while the iron's hot, and I'll keep you up to speed. So there's a couple of things with Sean has checked into the watering project that we'll have to take over in October for the 19 landscaping, because we don't want it to go to seed, so to speak, since it looks really good. So we'll continue that effort once their contract expires in October. And the boat ramp project, hopefully I can have some good news for you when we meet again in 2 weeks, when I find out exactly where we are. I'm working with staff to, there's a couple of places that you can put bids out. One of them is BidNet, and there's some applications that Sean has seen, and he and I will work on that with some other members of staff to get that project out and about, so we can see if we can bring it back to you for your consideration and approval in the near future. You mentioned also the dredge. I've been working with the engineers at Dewberry, and hopefully sometime in the near future I'll be able to get those set of plans back, because based on your guidance, they're reducing the scope from 118 and 26A. They're eliminating 18, so hopefully that'll come in, and we can get some funds. I've been talking to Jim about some areas that we can look to secure some other grant money, something out there somewhere. So we'll keep you advised on it. Police report updates, if I could, if you don't mind, if I could ask our police chief, Cyrus Robinson, if he'd like to take a stab at that.
We'll give it a shot.
Okay.
You talking about the police report that we just put out today? Yeah, I had Captain Koch do the research so we can start putting that out on a monthly basis so that we can keep citizens informed of what's going on. And I spoke with Mr. Mueller earlier, and he noticed a difference in the calls for service versus what's listed there. And that's basically, we didn't list the run-of-the-mill calls, if you will, but we just wanted to make sure you were aware of what was going on as far as crimes of note, if you will. And so that's why the numbers are different. And then we also put in some the locations where some of those incidents occurred. So it's a work in progress. This is the first one that I've put out. And so yeah, we're working on it, and and we'll keep it moving and get it improved if we can. So we'll be putting it out on a monthly basis.
Thank you, Chief. One other thing is I just wanted to remind everybody that this coming Thursday, not Friday the 13th, but Thursday the 13th of August, we'll be meeting in these chambers again at 6:30 to have our first budget workshop. And hopefully you're going to like the presentation. Becky Wood's been working really close with not just me, but also with George Zetline. And I'll have him here to go through the presentation. And we'll have it set up in a slide format, PowerPoint if you will. Hopefully it won't be deaf by PowerPoint, which I know a lot of people don't particularly enjoy, but hopefully it'll be very informative in terms of what we'll be presenting to you and the public.
Will we have the rough draft of the budget presentation before Thursday?
You sound like our city clerk say, ask me every day, when are we going to get it? And we started kind of behind the eight ball, so to speak, and I think we're gaining ground, making a lot of forward progress. And so I'm hoping we can get it to you tomorrow afternoon. Matter of fact, Becky Wood's in her office now, working on the different slides that will comprise a number of things. It might be a little different than what you've seen in the past, but I think it's going to have all the pertinent information relative to the departmental budgets and the overall general budget, and also, I guess, a financial position, if you will. Sort of state of the city.
Beautiful, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
At this time, I wanted to open comments from the mayor and city council. I was going to start with Vice Mayor Dittmer.
Thank you, Mayor. One of the items that's come up recently, and I spoke to Lynn briefly about it, is the sign at the DMMA site. We've been told that there's an obstruction of view. I think that's just turning right there at the corner onto Grand. So if they could take a look, maybe pushing that sign back for that. Also, I understand that we did get some kind of an update from FDOT on our Cody Road, US 19.
Just, as a matter of fact, late this afternoon, we got something from an engineer who's looking at that. So what I'm going to have to do is contact FDOT to take a look at it, make sure they're in agreement with what we'd like to do. And we've got the engineering proposal. Looks, price-wise, is very reasonable.
All right, thank you.
So we'll try to push that one forward rapidly.
Okay. And for Chief, was that new report generated through the CAD system, or is that not ready yet?
No, that was generated through the existing system we have right now. Well, I'll take the opportunity now, if you don't mind, to just kind of give you an update on where we are with the CAD. We've completed the training for all those individuals that will have access to the CAD system. That was completed last Thursday. The only thing we really have to do now is we have 6 mounting brackets that need to be changed in vehicles in order to accommodate the new computers. And one other thing that needs to be done is we've made contact with city IT, county IT, excuse me, to get with FDLE, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. You just have to make one switch over for our teletype system to match up with Pasco's, and we should be ready to go within a week to 10 days.
That's all I have.
Thank you. I was going to pass it over to Councilwoman Sorrell at this time.
It has been really nice that it's been fairly quiet in the last couple of weeks in Port Richey. So thank you all for that.
Thank you. Councilman McClary?
The only item I have is tied to the dredging project. I know we authorized $200,000 of improvements to the site lighting and walkway improvements around Treadmill Way and the Waterfront Overlay District. Have we made any requests for proposals or anything from any engineers, or what is our game plan overall for that? Or are we just waiting for the bidding to come back in from the dredging and see what funds are available before we start spending those funds?
Wow, it's a great question, because what I'm hoping to do when I get the AIRS folks in, they're on one of the ones on our list, and they do that type of work. And I'll see if they can give us a proposal as well.
Okay.
The one that gave us the earlier one that we discussed, we may get competing proposals, if you will. And I've been working very closely with Sean to look at our infrastructure, because some of it, as you all realize, it's got some age on it. And so we like to make sure we do some preventive maintenance and also some upgrades where possible before we have a problem that puts a certain area out of business for a short time frame, which would not only be an inconvenient, but it can also be dangerous.
Okay. That was it.
Thank you. Councilman Kinsella?
First, I want to thank Mr. Sosserman and Public Works for the mowing on Washington Street. It made a big difference, and I know there's quite a few residents along that area in those neighborhoods that are very, very happy. Thank you for taking care of that. Vice Mayor Dittmer made a comment about that sign. My question is, why do we have it up? There's names on there. If you take a look at it, you read it, it appears that's the current city council, which it's not. Why do we really need it up? I mean, if we're going to,
Sure, go right ahead.
It's part of the Restore Act project. The Treasury insists upon it. That's the actual verbiage is approved by them. So now we're applying again for the Restore Act money. We can't take it down.
so we have to keep all the names on there as well?
Yeah, they actually, that little piece we added, they made us do that until it's done.
Okay, can we take the names off, just keep the sign there showing the project?
I forget, you'd have to check what's in there, what's mandatory to be in there. I can't remember. I thought the names were added at the bottom. What's at the bottom? I can't remember.
No, it's all on the same sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, we put that up as the Restore Act makes us do that. The Treasury does. It's part of a federal project.
Oh, yeah, that,
Yeah.
as long as it's moved back, but I was just questioning why, but you answered it, thank you.
We could check if there's anything, we could take out, but we didn't make that decision. It's part of the.
A question to the chief about the river, patrolling on the river. Any future plans?
Right now, we've been discussing at least trying to get someone out on a weekly basis, at least one day a week to start out. And then, of course, during holiday weekends and things of that nature, we still have to look into if we can find a boat that's affordable. I'm also looking to get one of our officers, because we lost one who was the certified captain. And so we have to get the next one to a captain's course as well. So there's a couple of things that we're working on right now.
If you could put that boat out there on the weekends, that's when it's really needed. It seems like every weekend it is, I think the traffic is worse than 19. And you probably have triple the violations too on there. And I just hate the thought of accident taking place. And again, we're back in the front page with the media and negative information. I got a question. Some information's been going around. Reference, is there any ordinances or anything pertaining to Airbnb? It was brought up at the CAC meeting, and apparently, I guess that the problems that are occurring are more on the weekends, where it's a Friday night, Saturday night. Being on the river, a lot of house parties are taking place, and really trashing some of the areas, and no consideration to the neighbors or even the river. So I'm just making a general question now. If there is something, it's something that this council may look into further down the road.
I could tell you off the top of my head, about 7 years ago, maybe 8, state legislature passed a law called the Pro-Airbnb law, though it's not specific to Airbnb, that says unless you had something in your ordinances at the municipal level, you cannot ban Airbnbs and short-term rentals. It's kind of where they all started growing, okay? So that's still the law today. That doesn't mean you can't have ordinances about noise, or whatever other police matters that may be there, but you can't regulate Airbnb and what's the other one, RVBO or something?
Yeah, something.
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to do that. I can send that to you, but that's about 8 years old now.
We may be hearing more from some of the citizens out
Yeah,
there.
you might, yeah, so in other words, if it's, generally, what most people are doing is, it's in the paper all the time, this issue. If it's noise, maybe the police are called, but you're not gonna be able to ban short-term rentals.
Thank you, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And I didn't have any comments for opening comments, so at this time I'd like to move on to our consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. At this time, we're going to move on to council business. We're going to start with item 3, which is discussion of draft for a golf cart ordinance and resolution. And I wanted to pass it to our city attorney, Jim Matthew, for that.
Thank you, Mayor. Before you is the ordinance, and with regard to the ordinance, I changed the speed limit to 20 miles per hour. That's the maximum allowed by state law. I think council wanted to do that just to match with Newport Richey. I also changed the resolution, which you'll pass at the second reading of the ordinance when you're prepared to proceed forward. And I think what you wanted was to make it an annual fee of $50 last time. It really was an annual fee of $25 last time. It was a one-time fee of $50. I think 71 people had paid it 6 years ago or something. To make it $25 a year, and in case someone paid the year before, starting January 1st of 2021, if somebody paid this year, they'd get a credit for half of it or whatever. And I also put in here that at the time of inspection, proof of insurance would be provided. And you could change the more details of it because it's not going to be in the ordinance. So if there's some details of inspections or something you want to change, or you can just do that one day, just say, Jim, bring a resolution and just change it. So it's kind of the nice part about doing the details by resolution. So that's what's before you. Unless you want to make any other changes to the ordinance or the resolution.
Thank you. One of the issues that we deal with the golf cart ordinance discussion is it impacts probably our police department the most in terms of enforcement, and I wanted to pass it to our chief and just ask if there's a question. Are there any concerns that you have about enforcement and or being able to certify these on an annual basis, or do you think you're okay or able to do that with the department?
No, I don't really see any issue at this point. You said there's like 80 to 90 carts. No, we can do it. I don't really see an issue with it.
So you believe you have the resources to be able to do that every year?
Yes.
Okay. Other than that, that was really the only question that I had. Is I want to make sure that if we're going to change the ordinance, that we can follow up with what needs to be done in terms of monitoring that. I want to open it for discussion at this time and/or motion.
Make the motion for the first reading. This is the draft.
Yeah, this is the first draft. Yeah. So we have a motion to pass the first draft in a second. With that, are there any, before we put it to a vote, any members of the public have any comment or question? Reverend Spalding, come on up.
Sandra Spalding, 8612 Green Street. Question, the revenue taken in by this, will the police get that revenue in their spend money or their budget, let's put it that way? If you're gonna ticket them, the police are gonna ticket them if they're not up to par or they're not inspected, right?
I can do it.
Are the police gonna get that revenue? Because they kinda need it, you know. So, it's a question.
Actually, the police department is, in Port Richey, is a part of the general fund budget. So it's not an enterprise fund. So the monies, I would assume, unless our attorney tells me different, will go into the general fund. So they would be available for the police department should the chief and his people put together a budget and request it.
the monies for the administrative costs go to the general fund, and if there is ever a ordinance violation, which is charged, those monies would go to the general fund, otherwise there'd be an incentive to give out more tickets. Okay, so it'd be somewhat problematic to take the money from ordinances. Not that you would ever do that. Not that you would ever do that, but ordinance money goes to the city general fund. Okay. From ordinance. Now they're going to write a ticket on a state, vehicle, because they could do that. You could write a vehicle thing, then a certain portion will get distributed in accordance with however they do that, certain to the court, certain to this. So short answer to your question is no, it doesn't
Yes,
go
I
to the chief.
just wanted to clarify it because I thought it would all go into the same fund as regular tickets go. But I didn't want people to think that they were being ticketed for every little thing because it's going into the police fund.
Oh,
I wanted to
and that's why it
clarify
doesn't
that.
go into the fund for
Yeah,
that
I
reason.
wanted to clarify that
Yeah.
before it got carried away. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions by the general public or comments? Seeing none, before we put it to a vote, the only other thing I wanted to just clarify for the general public, and I'll direct this towards Mr. Sossaman. So this is going to be a two-step process every year where they, step one, get the golf cart inspected, and then step two, come pay the fee and then receive the sticker, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Same as when they originally got it, they just have to do it every year.
Right.
Okay. That having been said, any further discussion? Hearing none, I want to put it to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Let's move on to council business item 4, and this is going to be the approval of resolution of lease agreement for the shiny new fire engine purchase. And I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Sossaman for that.
Okay, and just in case I need backup, I've got two capable people sitting way over there. But previously, you approved the acquisition of this truck as $532,000 and change. It's a KME vehicle, and we have in the resolution that you just referenced, Mayor, and also from leasing to their proposal. It would be very, very consistent with what you've done in the past. It would be roughly a 10-year lease as opposed to a 5-year lease. It's going to cost us a little bit more interest-wise, but it keeps us consistent on a 10-year cycle for replacement, if you will. It's like having a vehicle replacement program without putting money into it every year. So I know the chief's in favor of it. Captain Quinn's in favor of it. I wouldn't hesitate to say that all the firefighters there are excited about it, and they probably would be more excited if I could tell them it'd be here next week as opposed to October, November. But this gets us set up for that vehicle to come in. So we'll have hopefully all the paperwork done if you approve this resolution tonight.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to open it for discussion and/or motion with council.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Right. Jim just reminded me, maybe what I should say is that since you've already approved the acquisition, all this is really a formality because the lender wants to make sure that you've duly considered it and have, as we are now discussing it, you've discussed it before and approved it. So they just want this resolution showing that, that somebody, whether it's the mayor, the city clerk, or yours truly, are authorized to sign it.
So so because in our packets it shows option 1, option 2. So the recommendation circled was option 1, which was, it looks like a 9-year lease.
9-year lease, yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
And that's the motion in the second? Okay. Before we put it to a vote, any comments from the general public? Hearing none, any further comments from council? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Last item up for council business is the discussion of the reopening of our city park restroom facilities, which has been kind of a hot spot for a little bit, so I wanted to allow our city attorney, Jim Matthew, to open up discussion on that.
I was going to turn this over to Mr. Uhas, but I'll give some preliminary statements. I don't want to steal your thunder here. There's been certain requests from people as to why the bathrooms are still open. Mr. Uhas has done considerable research on it, and as to why, and it's a health reason and an expense reason. So he's prepared to address it, and I can fill in it.
All right, good evening. We were looking at this as our POI, which is, sorry, our POI is the fire chief. Per recommendations, the bathroom should be cleaned after every use. In that stated, we have 5 bathrooms in 5 different parks. Each bathroom has 2 to 4 fixtures, plus the toilet dispensers and the paper towel dispensers. Each fixture would have to be cleaned after every use. Each park would have to have an attendee, since it has to be cleaned after every use. That would be 5 new staff members. A rough number would be $30 an hour that would be paid, plus insurance, plus retirement, and they're not budgeted or present on staff. The park hours would have to be changed to 8:30 to 5:30 to accommodate my staff to show up at 8 o'clock, be on site at 8:30 to accommodate anybody in the parks. Closing at 3:30 so they could get back here to punch out at 4. The other thing we'd have to do is that there is 16 hours of overtime for 5 staff members for Saturday and Sunday. And I know the parks are open from dusk to dawn right now. I think that would be a bigger problem doing 8:30 to 4:30. We've already had vandalism at Nick's Park by transients that decided they just wanted to get into the bathroom and trash one of them. So we did have to do repairs on one of the bathrooms. This would increase our bleach usage, our trifold towel, our hand towels, and our paper towels. We average right now, by usage of our cleaning and our property and just cleaning our normal stuff, 3 to 5 gallons a month. We were at our peak, we were at 10. And that's with the bathrooms open. This was going to increase 5-fold for everything that we're doing. This would also lead to the picnic areas. We'd have to actually open the picnic areas because some of the picnic areas, like in Waterfront, they're in front of the bathrooms. So we'd either have to remove all the picnic tables, some of them are bolted down, or we'd have to relocate a good portion of them. And the playgrounds would be unavailable, and that's one of my problems now is that we go in and service our playgrounds, and we get people that come in behind our service. One service gentleman that I have that does all of our parks, all 8 parks that we have in the city, and they go in behind and start doing on the playground. The kids are on the playground, we have to actually very nicely run them off. So all of these numbers that we have, and the one very large one is vehicles for the employees. I don't have enough vehicles for my present staff now. We're actually 3 or 4 trucks down. For each one of these staff members, I'd have to come up with 5 more trucks. And if we did F-150s right now, presently, they're about $32,000 to $35,000 a piece. And again, this is not budgeted, and I do not have the staff or the equipment right now to do this.
Thank you. I wanted to open it up for council discussion and any kind of comments. And I wanted to open with the discussion. It's my understanding that city management, Mr. Sossman, you've looked at this very carefully in your recommendation based on the financial impact and the financial ability of the city itself is to keep everything closed based on restricted resources and not having anything budgeted. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mayor. And primary reason is not because we want to be mean people or mean-spirited, but I've been working with Sean on new vehicles that he needs that not even touched the ones he just mentioned, as well as the new staff that he would have to have. And of course, he discussed it and worked with Chief Soroy, who's been in charge of our COVID-19 fight, if you will. And so we have done some treatment in the police department's been treated, as well as fire department, and then this building, and also Mr. Uhas's building. And so those weren't very, we had that wasn't very expensive. Now the fire department is working on a grant that hopefully we'll get, but it would not, it might get you one of those vehicles. I think it's like for $37,000 and change, and we hope to be able to have some good news for you on that by the next meeting. But the primary reason for recommending not opening them is because of this, $150,000, $60,000 worth of vehicles plus the 5 people, salary-wise to do it. It would really have a negative impact on the city's finances.
And I wanted to thank you for your opinion. It's my humble opinion. I support your decision 100%. So that's where I'm at with this, and I wanted to open it for discussion with
Are
the
we
council.
aware of any other cities that have opened their parks by chance?
It's my understanding that Newport Richey, which is what, 5 or 6 times our size, they've opened up theirs. I haven't been there to see it, but I understand from folks that they are. I actually had one of our police officers check it out, and also I think the county parks are open. But again, they're a lot larger. Their pockets are much deeper.
But it'll be interesting exactly what they're doing. Are they following the protocol, going in, cleaning after each visit?
The parks are open. The issue is the bathrooms being closed.
Yeah, the parks are open. I'm not sure if their bathrooms are or not. I've had a few.
Our parks are open. It's the bathrooms we keep closed. Dade City keeps theirs closed, right? Did we check with
But
them?
it's my
Yeah,
understanding.
all the parks are open. This is just a matter of cleaning the bathroom.
Is Newport Richey's bathrooms open, or are they closed?
Yes, they're open.
They are open.
Yeah, we checked others. I think theirs could be open.
The county's open in Newport Richey, and are they following the same protocol of cleaning after every user, or?
We're not following the protocol here. How many people use that restroom since we've been in this room? I haven't seen anybody go in there and clean.
Well, this is going to be a discussion for the council, and then we'll open it to the public once the council's done with discussion, if that's okay. So I wanted to leave it amongst just the council for now. So
I was just curious as to what the other cities are doing to their bathrooms. Are they following the established guidelines, or are they cutting corners? And that would be interesting to see what others are doing.
Yeah. I'll do that tomorrow. I'll give them a call and my counterparts and see what they're doing. I know I can probably get to NPR, Newport Richey's manager. Usually she either answers or calls me right back. And I'm not sure about Dan Biles with the county, but if I can't get him, I can see if I can have Mr. Uhas also to double down on it and come back to the next meeting. So you don't necessarily have to make a decision tonight. If you're not prepared to do that, you can wait till our next meeting, and we'll have more information for you.
any other further discussion?
Yeah, I echo that. Let's see what other criteria Newport Richey or Pasco is following, if it's different, because obviously with 5 staff and 5 trucks and whatever else, that's a non-starter to me. But if there's something else that they're doing or they have approval to do, it's worth at least an investigation.
We're financially not able to accomplish this if we're going to use these standards to clean the bathrooms for the public parks. I think it would be a real detriment to us if something happened as far as our bathrooms and we were not following some kind of protocol. We don't need that publicity either. So I think it would be a real detriment for us to open our bathrooms prematurely. With it, and since the virus is still continuing on and we're still under the precautions that have been stated by the state and the federal government and the CDC, I see no reason that we should open the bathrooms at this time.
Mayor, if I might, before, since I know the council's discussing it, but Sal just reminded me that We did receive a report last week from the county that put out routinely, and Dade City still has their bathrooms in their parks closed, just like we do, if that means anything.
I'd just like to see what procedures the county and Newport Richey have implemented, and see what they're doing. Maybe we can match theirs to get them open. If it turns out they're putting staff on it, well, that's something we can't do, but I think we can look into it and see if they're going around that. Maybe they're putting something simple as a sign saying, due to COVID, these bathrooms aren't cleaned on a regular, I don't know. But it'd be interesting to find that out. Thank you.
Well, I think the discretion that we were using too, besides the cost, is the protocol we put in place and the risk factor for the public, which are our constituents as well as other folks who come in. And as Mr. Uhas said, that we've already had some vandalism. So if we open them up, I'm not sure how much more we'll have or less, but we'll definitely come back to you at the next meeting and bring, if that's your desire and in your direction tonight, we can definitely do that.
Thank you. One of the things that I'd like to point out too is, for a small city, we have a lot of parks and a lot of bathrooms. And we don't have the luxury of, I know the county has some parks too, where they have Parks Department members that actually, I think, live on site, if I'm not mistaken. So it's much easier when you have that kind of staff in a Parks Department to be able to clean, and we just simply don't have that. So it's kind of hard to compare what the county's doing and what we're doing, because that's apples and oranges. Newport Richey is a little different. However, I don't think they have the amount of parks per capita that we have either. So if we had just one park to manage for a small city, then I think it's in the discussion. But we're talking 5 parks for a very small city, which we're very fortunate to have. But it's just not, in my mind, it's not realistic given the circumstances of COVID and the guidelines that are out there. However, it's worth looking into, and if we can find some way to do it, I'd love to do it. I'm very skeptical. So my opinion is I think they just need to stay closed until we move on past phase 1 of COVID. We're still in phase 1. We haven't moved out of that yet. So, and the numbers keep growing in our states. I certainly don't want to, from a government standpoint, attribute those numbers growing to what we're doing. So that's my position on it.
So my question, can we table this until we get the report back, what the county is doing and what Newport Richey? I'm just looking at what are they doing to keeping the restrooms clean? Are they doing it on the hour?
All right. I understand that's the report that we'll read back to you. I'm not sure if the motion would have to be to table or to continue the discussion. Okay.
If someone wants to make a motion, they can make a motion, but if you don't make any motion, you could just request Len to put it on the agenda for next time. I'm sure he will. Just so you understand that the emergency powers that Len has, he derives from you. So ultimately, this is your decision. That's why I put it on here. So if somebody wants to make a motion one way or the other, you can. Otherwise, you want to make a motion. You can do any of those things. Just consensus.
Yeah.
All right, sounds like that.
Next agenda item, pending further information or whatever.
And I think that closes discussion for council. But I did want the public to be able to weigh in. So I wanted to invite Pastor Ward to the podium.
Leonard Lord, I pastored A114 Leo Kidd Avenue. I take my grandson to the park all the time. Memorial Park, the one here, I don't know what the name of it is, right here on Regency, also over to Mitchell Field. And we've been in and out of all the bathrooms, and I've never saw anybody go in and clean anything while we're there. I'm just telling you what we've experienced. So what protocol they've got, I don't know, but we've been there ever since they were open, so we haven't. There's nobody went in behind us, and I see people in and out. So just tell you that from experience being at them, okay?
Thank you, Pastor Ward.
You're welcome.
Well, maybe we won't go in
And
that
Mr. Mueller,
direction.
come on up. I wasn't trying to silence you, but I wanted to make sure you speak at the right time. So I wanted to invite you to the podium.
Dave Mueller, 5439 Blue Point Drive, 34668. You're going to hear that a while. But I appreciate your opportunity to go through, Sean, of calculating what the effective cost would be. And I can micromanage like that as well. What are the current costs that we're paying to clean the bathrooms? Where's those wages and vehicles gone? They've gone somewhere, they're doing something else. So what was our normal schedule? And, you know, what was the proposed schedule? And I think it's a great idea because everybody, every restaurant, the city down in Newport Richey, the county, Pasco, or Pinellas County, all these restaurants, they can figure it out. I think we ought to be able to put our heads together and figure something out, or at least a working solution. Because right now, what we're getting is people defecating behind the bathroom. So they're still using them. Whether you like it or not, that's what's happening. Just want to be making sure you're aware. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to see if there's anyone else that would like to comment. Seeing no hands, council's closed the item. We're done with council business, and we'll move on to old business at this time. I'll start on the other side of the room at this time with Councilman Kinsella.
I do not have anything, thank you.
Councilman,
I have nothing.
Councilman,
Have nothing.
nothing from the mayors.
This is not old business. I wrote it down in the wrong spot. So at the corner of Bay Boulevard and I think it's Wilkins, where the Radiator Shop is, it looks like they're raising the elevation on that property. I just wanted to make sure we're all aware of where that runoff is and how that's going to change for that neighbor directly across the street. So Sean, I guess you're aware of that?
Yes, sir, I am. We're actually working with the owner of the Radiator Shop to make sure that the drains on Wilkes and on Bay are clear. That's why he has the silt fence up to do that. And I believe that's going to be either for sale or he's building on it. But yes, sir, we make sure we actually, we worked with him about 3 weeks ago when he was cutting all the trees down. Putting on for a normal pickup, he actually blocked our storm drain on that side on Wilkes. Made a quick decision on it. We actually pulled out 8 truckloads of tree debris to make sure that storm drain was clear.
Yeah, I was just concerned for that neighbor that's across Wilkes from them. It looks like it would flow right into their front yard.
Yes, sir, it flows that way, but yes, sir, we'll make sure it doesn't.
Okay, thank you, Sean.
Yes, sir.
That's all for old business. This time I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
I've got one quick reminder, Mayor, it's just
Okay.
one more time. Doesn't have to be acted on, but you've already said it. That's the 6:30, this coming Thursday, the 13th. First budget workshop.